Hey, fellow systematic geekologist, I forgot to hit the non-loop thing on the theme song. So guess what? You get to hear the theme song one more time because we love it. It's Comic Book Ketchup, your favorite comic book series on the internet. Yeah, we have that claim. Let's see if it goes again. Nope, we did it right. Hey, Kevin.
Right on. Will Rose, how are you?
Oh, man, here we are. Another episode of Comic Book Ketchup, as an episode where friends of Systematic Geekology, hosts of Systematic Geekology get together and talk about what we're reading in comics. We love comics. We love this medium of storytelling. We're coming off a free comic book day when it's a big publicity a push for the local comic stores to get some comics in geeks of all ages' hands. And then a lot of these comics are previews for books that are coming up. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Kevin and I are going to geek out around some of the comic books that we're reading, graphic novels, and some of the big things that are happening in the comic book industry. This is a patron going live to our patrons right now. It'll go to them first, and then it'll come up on YouTube later. But we want to thank some patrons, James and Trip. And there's more names out there that Joshua gave me, but didn't type in this banner. But definitely Trip and James and a handful of others out there that keep us moving forward and help us take care of the bills and keep the lights on and do those kind of things. So thank you, patrons, for that. Kevin, this is Comic Book Ketchup, and you may have talked about your favorite condiment. I think I have too. But this is a question to kind of get us started and warmed up before we go into the lightning round. If someone's going to serve you a hamburger right now and they could only have one condiment on it, what would you put on that hamburger? You can only have one thing on it right now. What is your belly? What is your taste buds? What are you feeling right now?
I'll do mustard, especially like a spicy kind that's like a little bit of zest there. But yeah, for a burger, I would take mustard over ketchup because it works in great both burgers, hot dogs, anything like that.
Nice. So if you're going to pick one, you're picking the mustard, a little bit of zest to it. That's good. Yeah, today I'm feeling a little bit of mayo. I think
Nice.
Usually I go with ketchup. I put ketchup on my ketchup. I love ketchup with my fries and everything. But today I'm feeling if I could only have one thing on a hamburger, I think I would put mayo, and then I'd try to talk them into putting some pickles on it too. Because man, I love pickles on my hamburger.
Pickles are excellent. Yeah.
Yes, extra pickles. Well, here we are. All right, we're going to talk about some
lightning is spelled wrong.
It is. There you go. Well, then that deserves another lightning.
Joshua must have been. Forgive Joshua. He does a lot of editing and a lot of work on this podcast. So forgive him.
That is me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was pointing the wrong fingers. Yeah.
Light and Ian. I am a. Then we'll go with the light. Okay, that's what we'll do. No, I am a notoriously bad speller. And I was growing up, I was a kid that I got so bad grades on spelling tests. I don't even know if they have spelling tests anymore in school because they have spell check, autocorrect.
Yeah.
Do they have spelling tests anymore in school?
I don't know. I'll have to ask. My sister's an elementary school teacher, and my niece is in first grade now.
I need to know if kids are burdened with spelling tests. I was notorious bad spelling, and then I was always out in the spelling bee first, and still to this day, like as you can tell, lightning round. I'm gonna leave it up there, and then in the chat you can yell at me. What are you dumb? You can't spell? Yes, I can't. But all right, lightning round. What are you reading, Kevin? Just real quick. What's something you're reading?
So I'm going to plug a graphic novel that is actually written by a good friend of mine who I've known since college, and I've seen his career as a comic book writer evolve. This book is called Cooking with Monsters, and I'll make it the full title here because this is the first volume of what's going on. I have a little more insight into this because I've read original drafts when he was working on this. This has been a 10-year project from the writer. His name is Jordan Alseca, and the artist is Vivian Trong. And the title of this volume is called Cooking with Monsters: The Beginner's Guide to Culinary Combat, which that alone, that title should grip you. But yeah, it's a great read, and I'm not just saying that just because Jordan's a friend of mine, and like we used to podcast together on the Joy of Geek for a long time, and then he's been doing a lot of. This was his first big published work through IDW. He was doing self-publishing before that and various anthologies and all this, but this was like his big break. And so this is the first volume. The second one comes out in October, and then the third and final part of the trilogy will be the following year. But yeah, it is an excellent YA series about this. It's set in a world where monsters thrive, some good, some bad. And at this culinary academy, they not only fight monsters, but then they cook them as well. And so it's this like really unique take on, if you like any kind of YA that deals with either magic or fantasy, this is a really unique take on all of that. The world building is excellent. The characters are diverse, and I really am looking forward to getting to know them more throughout the rest of the series. And obviously just like super happy for Jordan that this was a idea that he had for longest time and been reworking it for really a decade or more. And not only not just got to put it out there, but got a major comics publisher to work a deal with them. And so yeah, it came out last fall. It's through IDW, so you can get it at your local comic shop. You can order it online, read it digitally. But definitely want to support and definitely look out for Jordan. I'm sure he could be doing big things in the future as well.
I love that. I had not known about this, and then I looked it up and found like maybe the first volume online through like Google Books or something.
Yeah.
Was put out there, so I was able to read a good chunk of this. I want you to buy it from your local comic store. That's what I push. Don't get it free online. Go buy it.
Absolutely.
But it's got kind of a My Hero Academia vibes to it.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a culinary school. It's anime / superhero monsters cooking show, all those things you like. If you like cooking shows, if you like anime, if you like monsters, if you like team books and My Hero Academia kind of genre, then this is the book for you. It was a lot of fun. All ages or young adult kind of graphic novel. So it's cool that you're friends with. You knew from college and at State.
Yeah, we met through the student newspaper at State. Him and a group of friends that like we're still close with, and then we were podcasting together for a while, and then we still keep in touch. He moved a few years ago because his partner is a veterinarian, so he follows her around, and then and so they're in Washington State now. But he's done it. When we met, he was like just working on his first book that he eventually kickstarted, and then there was like a sci-fi one shot, and then he published another graphic novel before through self-publishing, and he actually I know I'm just plugging him right now, but he
I love that. Yeah, that's why we're here. Cool.
Yeah, on Comixology, he has a series that just debuted this week, just digitally called Raise Hell, which was another book that was kickstarted a few years ago, the first issue, and now it's an ongoing on Comixology. So definitely follow it, and the artist as well, Vivian Trong. He's worked with some great artists, and I love Vivian's art in this book.
You know who has Comixology, and that's Joshua Noel. So he might be hearing this right now and thinking, "I got to go find this book." He loves books like that. And it's really cool when our friends and when you and I are around this industry and know people who create this stuff from North Carolina Comic Con and friends with folks, we're able to rub some elbows with people who that's their job. That's how they hustle are making these books. And Kevin, I think you and I could team up and write a book one day. We could. We have
I'm down.
Let's write
I've written comic strips before. So
I know you have. And I got a bunch of ideas in my head to get out there. Another friend of mine, Lee, who we're trying to get something off the ground and maybe kickstart one day. Because artist, writer, so it'll happen. But so it's fun when our friends do that. So we spent this was a long lightning round book, but man, when it's your friend, you got to talk about it a little.
Absolutely.
I'll be quick with this one. The one for me is Ain't No Grave.
This looks good.
Boom, boom. Oh man, tell you. So I'm a big Scotty Young fan. His art, and then he's become more of a writer these days and cover artist. But the artist on this book is George Corona. Jorge, George.
I know what
Corona.
you're talking about. I don't know how to pronounce, but I've seen his art before.
Yeah, he did the Me You Love in the Dark, and he's now the new artist on the Transformer series with Daniel Warren Johnson. Daniel Warren Johnson is no longer drawing it; he's still writing it. But Corona is the artist in that book, and man, I love his style. I love his pencils. Really good. This is a book, kind of a Western supernatural fantasy book. It's almost like The Unforgiven, where you have this family and this mom who gets diagnosed with something. She's sick, and she's like, well, nope, I got to leave the house, leave my family behind, because I don't want you guys to see me like this. They're like, well, we want to take care of you. She says, nope. And she goes off, and evidently she's like this legendary gunslinger, and she's really on the hunt to kill death so that it doesn't kill her. I think that's where it's going. And it's pretty, the art's amazing. I love comic books that aren't too many words. Like, you got to have word bubbles, you got to have narration. But if that overrides what's going on with the art, then that's a little distracting for me because of the medium of panels and page to page. But yeah, this book's going to be fun to follow for sure. So there you go, folks. That is our lightning round. And so to hop to our main books, we have this new sound. Let's see if you recognize it, Kevin. You recognize that? Let's hear it again. It's the Sonic Charge from
that's what I thought. Attack of the Clones? Yes, that's what. Okay. You know what? I had like the way I remember it too, because like that was one of the coolest moments was it Mandalorian season 2 when they did it again? Like, yeah, I think it was season 2, and like when they did that was an instant like prequel fan delight there.
Yeah, I agree. I think if it lingered longer at the end, you'd be like, I know exactly what it is. When it
right.
Abruptly, TJ was playing around with finding that sound
effect. That's a good one. I love it.
So we'll do some lightsabers, because one of the main books I want to talk about is Darth Maul, Black, White, and Red. Y'all, folks, Kevin and I were able to go see The Phantom Menace in the theater together a couple weeks back on May 4th, and it was so cool. And I was reminded how cool Darth Maul is and how disappointed I was that they killed him off in that movie, that we're not going to see him again. But sure enough, guess what? We did see him again in the Clone Wars. They brought him back. Nobody stays dead in comics. Nobody really stays dead a whole lot in Star Wars either, because you have Force ghosts, and you have people coming back and being stabbed with the lightsaber and then or cut in half and still coming back. Palpatine even came back. Goodness gracious. So this is a cool book. This is you kind of see, I didn't create slides, but you can see the kind of the cover. This is Marvel and DC have been doing these kind of one-shot anthology books with just like black and white. They did Batman black and white. They did Superman like white, blue, and red.
I have it on my desk. It's red and blue. Yeah,
red and blue. So it's kind of all red and blue. And this one is they've done a couple other things like that, but Darth Maul, black, white, and red. So the whole book is in black and white, but also red. So there's a lot of red in this book too. And man, I like it that they could do more Darth Maul series kind of storylines of him going off on these missions in the comic book form, because we don't know how long he was an apprentice before he showed up, or his training showing up on the Phantom Menace, and then we kind of know what happened after that in terms of him coming back in the Clone War era and even showing up at the end of the Solo movie. But these comics and graphic novels, you do get a good artist and good writer and send him off on a mission. And this one's like a horror story. Palpatine's like, I'm sending you off, and you got this kind of like cosmic ghost demon spirit phantom kind of thing. It kind of possessed this starship, and Darth Maul has to go in and defeat it, not just with lightsaber and force stuff, but also with like his mind and wit. And so I really thought this was a good book. If you're a fan of Darth Maul, fan of Star Wars, pick up this comic. It's I'm not sure if they're going to do more of this. It doesn't say one shot at the end. I got a variant cover, but that's the book. It says one on top. It's fun. It's good. Kevin, I don't know if you checked that one out, but I know you're a Darth Maul fan.
I'm going to, and I really love that they're doing stuff like this that's more self-contained, but also like a little bit more experimental. Like, I mean, just with the color scheme alone, doing stuff, because like the comics for the Star Wars universe, I think is the opportunity where they can really expand. And I really hope they do a what if, eventually either as an animated series or as a comic. Like that's one get me in a writer's room for, because I would
Gosh.
love to do like, what if Qui-Gon survives? So many things, but I love something like this where, okay, you don't have to do a full big series, but a horror story with Darth Maul, like sign me up. Absolutely.
And his lightsaber's red. So if you do black, white, and red, there's a lot of red. Not only his skin color and stuff around, lasers being shot, but his lightsaber. Really focus on his lightsaber. And then when you take that lightsaber out of his hand, he has to use a different means to defeat this entity, this cosmic demonic entity that is a pretty cool storyline. So yeah, and we do plan to do a what if later on this month. We're going to do. What if Dooku is the one who trained Obi-Wan rather than Yoda or Qui-Gon Jinn? So that's a what if we're going to do. We love these what ifs, and especially around Star Wars, to think about what would happen. And I do think they could do something like that. I heard there's maybe a what if Lego, Star Wars Lego.
So there's like a Lego, it's like a mini movie coming out where you're finally going to see Darth Jar Jar. So they like, and Ahmed Best is voicing him. They've got Mark Hamill on board for Luke. So that one is going to be like the closest thing we get to at least right now. But I would love them to do a what if series like with the Clone Wars style animation. Yeah, it would be amazing.
Yeah, the whole like Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, the shorts, the animation. One of my favorite podcasts is Rebel Force Radio, and they're kind of like, guys, stop kind of tiptoeing around what people want to see. I know they're a little leery of kind of the legacy characters of Han, Luke, and Leia and Chewie, but man, to have like a Tales of Vader and have him doing these shorts of like one-off missions of hunting down Jedi and stuff, man, it'd be so good.
Even if all it is adapting like the comics and stories that are out now, because with the comics they have covered pretty much each era. There was the post Revenge of the Sith one by Charles Soule, the Kieran Gillen one, which is my favorite between New Hope and Empire, and then now Greg Pak writing the one set in between Empire and Return of the Jedi. But even just adapting some of those, oh gosh, I would watch that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Star Wars comics are fun. There's a lot out there, so to kind of pick and choose and get the recommendations from. But it's fun if you want to keep your Star Wars storytelling going, and in between the big drops on Disney Plus or the movies, there's some good comics and graphic novels out there. Cool. Well, let's see what's next. All right, let's talk Hellboy. You've been reading Hellboy. This is one of your main books. It's been around a long time. There was even a comic on Free Comic Book Day of Hellboy to lure you back in with one of these one-shot stories. But Mike Mignola, is that I'm saying it right? Hellboy's been around a long time, and he's still going strong. What is it about Hellboy that's been geeking you out this go around, Kevin?
Yeah, so I think I talked about it on the podcast before. My original introduction to the character was the Ron Perlman, Guillermo del Toro movies, which are still some of my all-time favorites, and then. It's a different version. I mean, he still retains the character, but once I start reading the comics, it's a different tone, and it's like very rooted in ancient mythology, and there is, a more of a horror influence there. There's still a comedic element, and that, I think that's what those movies captured really well. But the horror is more present in the comics, and that's what I like most about Hellboy is like almost all of them are these, short stories and one shot. So the order that you read them in doesn't really matter that much. Because there's Hellboy, there's Hellboy in the BPRD, which that is more what I'm talking about today. And then there's like Hellboy in Hell, a bunch of other one shots and spin-offs, but you can kind of read them in any order. And there are tie-ins and everything, but that's the beauty of it is just, I just love spending time in this universe and following the character and, whether he's in, a supernatural realm or, he's in Romania or somewhere else on Earth, just going around and doing missions, whether fighting monsters or uncovering some like ancient mystery. So two of the stories I've read recently, and this is from a Humble Bundle I got a few months ago, which is the last time I talked about a Hellboy book was Hellboy in Hell, which also came from this one. And these two stories are Hellboy in the BPRD, Her Fatal Hour, and then the other one is The Beast of Vargoon. Vargu? Yeah, I think I'm saying that right. And so these ones are very connected because the Beast of Vargu. He's fighting this big monster. There are these great pages in the first half of the story where it's just, exactly what you want to see. Hellboy fighting this big, crazy, demonic beast. And then he almost gets his butt kicked. And he's helped by this an elderly woman who has some like mystic background, and another woman from this village there. And so he's got to like revive there. He defeats the monster. And then in her fatal hour, he reunites with these women from Romania and is indebted to them because of how they saved him from this beast. And so the younger woman in that pairing is caught in this like really bad romance with a dark demon. And so it's a this synopsis tells everything. I'm just reading this directly from Hellboy Wiki. Years after Hellboy's ill-fated tangle with the Beast of Vargu, the Romanian women who helped him meet that debt repaid, claimed by a demon in a romance gone wrong, the younger woman reaches out to Hellboy through
Kevin, can you hear me? Something on your end there's like a reverb or something on yours, so I couldn't hear. Can you hop back out and hop back in real fast? Let's see if that is the case. I don't know. Let's see. All right. Let me see, it's on your end or my end. Something's going on. Oh, that was Kevin. Sometimes that happens with technology. He was talking about Hellboy, and I think perhaps the demons, maybe hell itself, was against Kevin for coming back on and talking about Hellboy. Thank you for hanging with us, patrons and YouTube friends. Sorry about that sound hiccup. Here he is. He's back. Let's see what it sounds like. Kevin, you back?
Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah, there was something going on there on your end.
Okay. Yeah. Gotta love tech troubles, but it happens.
I think it was the gates of hell that were against you saying what you wanted to say.
They were. I mean, that was exactly what happened. They cut me off right as I'm reading.
They did.
I know.
The spirits of darkness.
Exactly. But no, I was basically just saying Hellboy is one of those. I just love spending time in this universe. I love the characters so much and the world building. It's like I said, even with the familiarity about, because there are so many volumes of like both the main title and Hellboy and the BPRD and various other spinoffs. And so there's going to be similarities in stories. He's often going to fight a monster or uncover a supernatural mystery related to some family. And, it, even with like the familiar threads there, it just never gets boring. And so these ones, I just gobble them up. They're just so good. And like, and that brings me to, so getting into Free Comic Book Day, there was a Hellboy special there. This one, to combine two of my loves, it had a Hellboy and then a Stranger Things story in the back, back end of it, for Dark Horse. And in this one, he's communicating with a fortune teller. And it's also just, that one is actually a really great intro. If you haven't really read Hellboy, you want to like get a feel for what it is like, read the Free Comic Book Day one. It's short, it's sweet. It captures both like the humor and the horror aspects and, the mythological fantasy. And there's a little fun Stranger Things story at the end as well. But yeah, that was how much like Hellboy and stuff have you read and like, or like Are you a
You
fan
know,
of the
I've
movies?
read a little bit. I love those first movies, and then they rebooted
Yeah,
that movie. I think about halfway through that reboot movie, I love the actor who played
David
Hellboy,
Harbour.
David Harbour.
I
But that movie, halfway through, I was like, "What are we doing?" I was
that
like,
movie is a mess.
I almost
Yeah,
walked out.
yeah,
I don't walk
yeah.
out of movies. I
Right,
almost walked
right,
out of that movie because it's the
right.
afternoon. I was going to see it. I was sleeping. I was like, man, what? It was an absolute mess. But the original movies were great. I do like the character and story of kind of fish out of water, that he's a
Hmm.
demon, but yet he's good, and is it nature and nurture. And I
Hmm.
know Joshua, in one of his favorite books of all time is Hellboy in Hell, and
Yeah.
talking about like his origins and where he came from and all that kind of stuff is it's just great. And then having this kind of league of kind of weird monsters that are taking care of the paranormal in the world to keep the demons back, or keep the paranormal back for the real world. Um, kind of like muggles and wizards from Harry Potter.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that I love those kinds of stories. And so, yeah, Hellboy's great. And, it's not something that's on my regular pull list all the time, but
Hmm.
when a graphic novel comes out or a one
Yeah.
shot or a Christmas special or something like that, I'll definitely pick it up. And
And
I
those
like it.
are kind of the best format to read them in. I like getting the big, like either the omnibus or the individual graphic novels, and then yeah, you can buy a lot of the one shots wherever too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Often the collections are just collections of very short stories, and so that and yeah, so it's a like I said, it's easy to get onto the book. You don't have to worry about continuity as much. It's and like
Right.
there's
Right.
yeah, yeah.
You
If
kind
you
of
just
know.
like
It's
yeah.
just about stories. So Joshua, here's our idea. As you're listening to this, editing this, we want to do like a live watch of the original Hellboy movie from the back, and we all watch it
Ooh,
together and chime in on Discord. That's my idea. I think that would be fun. Or at Geek Camp or something, we all watch Hellboy together, something like that.
I would do that. And Ron Perlman's going to be at GalaxyCon Raleigh this year, so I'm planning
Nice.
on that. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Get that Hellboy sign. Cool.
yeah.
Well, we'll jump into mine.
Yeah.
Marvel and DC love their events, and maybe there's too many events, maybe there's too many tie-ins, but they know that it sells money and graphic novels, so they keep doing it. Well, the next big Marvel event is this thing called Blood Hunt, which is the Marvel universe is being inundated by just dark portals and thousands of millions of vampires just flooding onto the scene. And so, yeah, when there's an outbreak, not a zombie outbreak, but a vampire outbreak, what do? Well, the heroes rally around and see what happened. And what's funny about this book, or funny, or the gimmick, they have two versions of this book. The one you can pick off the shelf, and it's still bloody, it's still vampires. But then they have one that was polybagged, that's like rated explicit or rated R, that costs a little bit more. But if you want something a little bit more explicit, a little bit more violent, gory, whatever, buy the polybag one. You open the bag, you open it, you see there's not much different. They baited me. I bought the more expensive one. I bought the polybag one, opened it up, and really all it is there are a couple scenes that are a lot more. Instead of somebody getting stabbed, they're cut in half and there's like guts and intestines flying everywhere, which you wouldn't expect to see in like a normal Marvel book, that kids pick up for their heroes. I'm not going to spoil which hero it was that was split in half with guts everywhere, but it's a pretty prominent Marvel superhero. And so you're like, wow, how's he going to come back from that? Oop, there's half of it. It was a he. But I'm kind of into this. Like it is Ryan Steg. Let's see. It is Jed MacKay.
Yeah.
It is Jed MacKay and Pepe Larraz. And Pepe Larraz is one of my favorite artists in the Marvel game. And Jed MacKay is doing Avengers right now. He's done a lot with Moon Knight. And so, yeah, it's good. It
Ooh, I
is
like
fun.
that.
And then they had a free comic book day comic kind of tying in the Marvel universe, and Avengers is tying into it. The free comic book day kind of gave a spoiler of who's not behind Blood Hunt. Were you able to read that one, Kevin? Free comic book day.
I didn't read that one because like that was about the only ones I didn't were like the big event ones because I'm behind on all
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So but I read everything else. But this looks good. I love the cover there too.
yeah. It's all the Marvel heroes, mainly the Avengers, because Jed MacKay is is writing Avengers, but the whole Marvel universe is tied into this, and so it's one of five. It's a 5-issue. It'll go through the summer, and they'll have all the tie-ins with all the big Marvel books, and we'll see who. I'm sure the heroes will be okay at the end of all this, but the world may be different. And let's just say Blade is in it, and maybe something's happening there that a little
Is
suspicious. So we'll
is there
see.
a new Blade ongoing right now? Because I wasn't like, I knew he was like out for a long time, but I know with like the movie in development, I wasn't
Yeah,
sure if he was back
they
right
definitely
now.
tried to pull him back in. They put him on the Avengers there for a while on Jason Aaron's
Okay.
run,
Okay. Yeah.
and then Dracula and the vampires, his whole thing, like Dracula, the one, the Count was
Mm.
what had a little storyline in there, and kind of put on the shelf to maybe something happening later. But I think this is a cool. They got me. There's a Free Comic Book Day event that DC is doing called let's see if I can find it, called Absolute Power. And so Amanda Waller is doing her thing where she's trying to round up the heroes or something. They have, I think Brainiac is going to be a part of it. Failsafe, with it's just like, think Batman has merged with Terminator, AI kind of thing. So I think that's their big event that Mark Waid's getting ready to be at the helm. So I think Absolute Power is their big event. So you have Absolute Power, you have Blood Hunt, DC and Marvel going at it again to see who could get the most readers. But yeah, that's the book. The Uncanny, the Blood Hunt #1 Free Comic Book Day has a few more extra heroes other than the Avengers. Then it has a preview of Uncanny X-Men, which is going to be rebooted later on. We'll do a whole nother comic book catch up around what's going on with the X-Men. But yeah, Blood Hunt's fun. Check that one out.
Nice.
Check that one out. So now let's go to, we have Flash Gordon peering down above us right there, right there.
That's a
There
great
he
image
is.
right there. You can
Yeah,
also, if I can't really go back to it, but you can faintly see in the background on my and a Flash Gordon figure right behind my lamp there from the movie. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So Flash Gordon, I'll let you hop on this, but let's just say I'm a fan of Flash Gordon because I think it's that sci-fi trope of like the guy fish out of water, kind of a Luke Skywalker figure, Buck Rogers, whatever, early sci-fi in the 1900s. We have almost like this white savior kind of complex thing where he comes in, but I think in terms of the movie and the comics, and then I even have like um, a framed original art from original Flash Gordon comic from back in the 40s,
Wow.
whatever, that somebody gave me this kind of fun. So I've always liked kind of Flash Gordon, that kind of sci-fi, because that's what George Lucas wanted to create. He wanted to do a
Right.
Flash Gordon movie. They kind of blocked him on that. So he said, well, I'll do my own, and did Star Wars, thank goodness. But I think this is one of your books, Free Comic Book Day, Flash Gordon. This is going to be an ongoing. Tell us about this book. What intrigued you about this? I wish I could have grabbed this. Maybe there's one out there somewhere I can find on eBay or something. But yeah, tell us about Flash Gordon, Kevin.
Yeah. So, well, first, like my background with it, I haven't really read the comics or anything, but I love the '80s movie. It's just such a delight. I mean, even with how as campy it is, it's just like there's the Queen soundtrack, there's the visuals, there's the like fun ridiculousness of it, and as you said, the history of like how it influenced Star Wars. So I love that movie, and like Alex Ross did a cover for the Blu-ray for it years ago, and he talks about it as his favorite film of all time. And
Cool.
and so Free Comic Book Day, yeah, I went right before we saw Phantom Menace, and I actually had to, I mean, I'll say first off, like I rarely read the Free Comic Book Day issues because usually they are just like I kind of forget about them because usually they're just like previews of upcoming stuff, and like sometimes if I'm like I want to check that out, but I usually read. This year I actually read like all but I read the Blood Hunt one. I don't think I read like DC one, but I read like all the others and really enjoyed them. And this one in particular caught my eye because I had no idea there was a new Flash Gordon comic coming out. And this is the issue 0 that not just a preview of it, but is sort of like a mini pilot for the new series. And it is written by Jeremy Adams, illustrated by Will Conrad. I really love this one. I mean, just you can see from just the image here in the background, like that's the art. It's very eye popping, very cinematic, like very much an Alex Ross influence to it. So that
Cool.
alone, grabbed me. But the story was really good as well. It has all the classic characters. So Flash and Ming the Conqueror is the or Merciless and he's developing an planet destroying weapon. And in this issue in particular, Flash and the heroes kind of like outmaneuver him by Flash and kind of fakes his own death here, and then does a big surprise reveal at the end. But it sets the stage for the ongoing really well. Again, the art is just spectacular, and it captures all those sci-fi tropes. And I would say too, it's like, as a friend was asking me, like, is it like cheesy like the original movie? And there's an element of that, but it's, I would say, much less campy. It has just more of that, like, it's very much captures the essence of the old serials and old comics, but like in kind of a modern context. But it's not like, super corny dialogue or anything like that. It's like very grounded in this universe and makes you really want to get to the next issue, or when the series officially starts. So I had a ton of fun with this one, and not only are they, I had never heard of the company before. I think it's Mad Cave Studios, I want to say, but they're in addition to starting the new ongoing this summer, they're also republishing old Flash Gordon stories in new paperbacks and hardcover. So I'm definitely gonna pick those up when those come out.
Would you say the who's printing this? Who's behind this?
I think it's called Mad Caves. Let me double check here. Let's see.
And
let's see. Yeah.
Mad Cave.
Like, I hadn't heard of them before.
That's cool. Yeah. If you're gonna put your name on the scene of the comic book publishing business, why not get the IP of Flash Gordon?
Right. Exactly.
Or whatever. And then the brilliant case of like throwing it out on Free Comic Book Day when people are coming through.
Yes.
I like it when comics do issue 0. Like, even my friend of mine, Lee, who and I are thinking about doing a comic together. We're talking about History 0, issue 0 as like a comic, and then have that lead into like a graphic novel we want to put out later. But issue 0 to kind of the prequel or the setup for what the story is going to be, to give you a preview. I love that. I like issue 0s. I think that's fun.
And this one does a good job of like servicing old fans who love these characters, but also is a great introduction if like you've never seen the Flash Gordon movie or like read any of the comics or seen the old serials, anything like that. Because I mean, this is one of the older, because he's a character created in, not really in comic books, but in old fashioned comic strips in the 1930s, and then in movie serials, both of which are kind of like archaic art forms now. And then of course, the 1980 movie with Samuel J. Jones, and then there are other comics and everything since. But yeah, and it's called Mad Cave Studios. So I don't know what else they publish, but I think this will hopefully be a hit for them. But yeah, I would definitely, I mean, if you can get your hands on copy still, definitely check it out. And then I think the new ongoing launches in July, I want to say. So it's coming up, but yeah, it's just, and this also didn't feel like a really condensed, like it felt like a full story too. Not just a little, like, it wasn't like 10 pages. It was like a full issue there. So you got a good amount of story. It sets the stage for the ongoing really well. It's got a good blend of action, dialogue, just like, I mean, all set in space. It's, really, but it's just such a fun universe to spend time in.
I love that. Yeah, there's a cartoon out there from the 60s or 70s that I remember. There was the Saturday morning cartoons when I was growing up, and then there was a few Sunday morning cartoons that came out when I was growing up in like the 70s as a kid. And I remember wanting to watch cartoons, and like my parents going, "We're going to church." I'm like, "Oh man, I want to watch like the animated Star Trek, the animated Flash Gordon from like way back when." I was like, "Why pull me away from cartoons?"
The days before streaming.
The days before streaming. And I was like, man, now people are streaming church, that's fun.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm going to check out this book. I'm going to buy Flash Gordon, and I love it that they did a Free Comic Book Day. Yeah, and I think, a lot of these Free Comic Book Day comics, they overprint these, so they're not going to be collector's issues. Some might at some point. You never know. But in terms of collecting comics and making money off or like flipping them on eBay for a lot of money, only a handful of comics a year or variant covers, low print comics that become popular end up that way. But yeah, just to tell a story in this medium of art and word bubbles and panels from page to page with a cliffhanger that makes you want to pick up the next one. That's why I love comics and love this means of storytelling. So that's a lot of fun. There are other free comic book day. There's a Star Wars one. There's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's what was the other one? There's a Doctor Who. There's Spider-Man: The Ultimate Universe. They're kind of introducing again the Ultimate Universe. And I will say there's also like the Transformers Energon universe that creator Robert Kirkman has created. Walking Dead fame. He's tying in the Transformers and G.I. Joe into one universe, and that was a pretty good one too. If you like Transformers and that kind of thing, man, it's good. So yeah, you are making me have FOMO about Flash Gordon. I'm going to hunt it down. I'm going to find it on eBay. I'm going to they're out of it at Ultimate. I was like, hey, they had other, but they were out of Flash Gordon. So I don't know if I can find one online that I can read and check out, but I'll definitely do that.
Kevin, it was just interesting because oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, of all the books we talked about, if you had one to recommend, they only have enough money to buy one or enough time to read one, what would it be? Which one would you choose out of our list?
I got to go with my friend to recommend Pick Up Cooking with Monsters because that's perfect for all ages. If you want to get your kids into reading comics, that is a perfect one. It's you don't have to tackle this big long series. This is one part of a trilogy that will come out in the next few years, and it's a great read for kids and adults. So definitely want to recommend that one.
Yeah, let's support your friend and do that in comics. If I was going to recommend one of all of these, it'd probably be Flash Gordon, but I don't have it, so I can't recommend that. I'm gonna say pick up that Darth Maul Black, White, and Red book. It's a good story, a little bit more expensive because it's a little thicker, a lot of stories, but the art's great. The story of Darth Maul is great, and let's have more Darth Maul there because he's one of the coolest Sith around. So yeah.
I'll also say real quick,
go ahead.
I did the free comic book day Star Wars. The main one was fun. It was them going back to Hoth to rescue abandoned soldiers. But there was also a Darth Vader story in there. They kind of made me want to get back into because I haven't read the main Darth Vader title in a while, and I haven't read since the Greg Pak started writing. But there's a character in there and a storyline that ooh, this is interesting. It makes me want to kind of go back. So the free comic book day definitely did its job this year in terms of sucking me into current series that I've been off for a while or upcoming ones.
Yeah, it did its job. And yeah, we'll keep hopping into Free Comic Book Day every May. I think it's always the first Saturday of May. Usually that's around Star Wars Day. Usually it's around
they lined up. Yeah.
Marvel movie usually drops. A Marvel movie or a comic book movie didn't drop this year, but they did. I think Phantom Menace did really good at the box office.
Yeah.
A lot of people saw it. We were part of it. We were in a full theater too. So,
it was pretty cool because I got to see Phantom Menace that day, and then I saw Spider-Man 2 on the big screen a couple weeks before that because the Spider Mondays. So good time there.
Yeah, really good time. Well, folks, thanks, patrons. Thanks, comic book fans and friends. Let us know what you are reading. What comics are you reading that you're really hyped about? And if we aren't mentioning those, then let us know so we can talk about them and recommend them to our friends. We appreciate you. And remember to always geek out with your nerd outs, and that we love geeking out with you. Peace.